Welcome to another episode. In this week's show, we'll be talking about what to do about your heating during the summer months. But first of all, here's my friend Sean to tell you a bit more about the podcast and what we're doing it for. Thank you for listening to another Gaslec podcast, the show to help DIYers, new people into the industry, and those who are wanting to expand their knowledge. Each week, we'll pick a topic and go into details. And with special guests and listeners' questions answered, we will look forward to some of the conversations. So let's get back to the show. Right, so what should we do with our heating during the summer? Well, I think if we go back to the other end of the stick and think about what is the biggest amount of calls that we get when we first come into the first cold weekend of the winter. So the biggest calls we get is the heating doesn't work, the radiator's not warming up, it's making a noise, it's not as efficient, it's not working as well as it should. So typically what we then end up doing on the vans, we end up stocking up on a few items. The biggest failure is 3-port valves. So 3-port valves and diverter cartridges in combi boilers is exactly the same. They sit in the waiting for a demand for hot water position. They don't sit in the heating position and then move over for hot water and spring back. So they sit in for maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 months in one position only and not moving. And so these little fellas, they get stuck. They're sitting in maybe a dirty water environment where there's lots of material that's around, and they sort of get stuck in their one position. So that's the one big thing that we get called out for. If you're using very little hot water, if you've got other uses for gaining hot water, we get a lot of problems with pumps. So typically, if you're using your hot water 2-3 times a day, if you've got like a cylinder system or a combi boiler where it's using all the time, that they don't tend to get a lot of calls for pumps, but we do have a few pumps on the vans, certainly in the winter time. And then the other one is radiators, valves getting stuck. So if you've got an issue with your 3-port valve and you're getting a bit of creep on the heat coming through, you'll tend to turn if you've got thermostat valves, you'll tend to turn them off to stop that bit of creep coming through. And then these are just little spring-loaded items. So you then release the heat, release the head of the TRV on the radiator, or the thermostatic valve, sorry, and then it gets stuck and it doesn't open up properly. So highly recommend, if you've got an issue with your heating, get it fixed. If you've got a problem with your 3-port valve, get it changed. And then have all your radiator valves fully wide open so they're not sitting in the shut position. And then maybe once a week for 10 minutes, just turn your heating on during the summer, and that gets everything circulating, keeps everything moving. On your boiler, you could turn down the flow temperature so you're not heating the house up on a day that's 30 degrees. So you could turn that down. Just make sure you turn it back up for your hot water. All depends on your boiler and the system that you have. But you can, on virtually all boilers, turn down the flow temperature of the hot water. So turn that down and then turn it back up again after you've finished. So that'll be our top tip, really. So the answer is, don't turn it off. Ultimately, not off. So I know we'll be doing our own legs when it comes to the winter because there'll be a lot less call-outs. But, money's tight. So... and this podcast is all about helping people. So turn your boiler on once a week, 10 minutes, turn the flow temperature down, open up all your radiator valves nice and wide, and get that water circulating round. And then you'll have less problems when you come to turn it on in the September time, maybe October, when you first get that cold chill. We turn the heatings on, and then all of a sudden we get 150 phone calls in a day. Everyone asking, help. I'm freezing cold. Granny's cold, babies are cold, etc., etc. So don't turn your heating off. That's the top tip from Gaslec. Well, thank you very much, guys. It's only a little short episode this week from that, but there was a question that did come in from one of the listeners. So hopefully we've got that answered for you. Have an amazing week. Take care, and thank you very much. Goodbye.